Welcome to the Power Book of Podcasts. Unlock your potential with powerful book summaries that inspire personal growth and broaden your understanding of the world. Each week, we explore life-changing ideas, from leadership to mindset strategies to keys for happiness and success. Learn actionable insights to apply in your daily life. Join our growing community of thinkers and seekers. Like, comment, and hit that subscribe button now. It's time to supercharge your mind with the Power Book of Podcasts.
All right. Get ready to dive into arguments.
Arguments?
Yeah, but not just any argument.
Okay.
We're talking about winning them.
Oh, I like where this is going.
And even more interesting?
Yeah.
How people use sneaky tactics
So,
to basically pull the wool over our eyes.
I've been on the receiving end of that a few times.
You and me both.
Uh-huh.
So, you sent us this book, How to Win Every Argument.
Catchy title.
And it's honestly, it's amazing.
Really? I'm intrigued.
So it's like having this secret decoder ring.
Ooh, a decoder ring?
Yeah, for like all those tricky ways people use their words to twist logic and win arguments.
Even when
they're totally wrong.
That's devious.
I know, right?
I like it.
So the book talks about these things called fallacies.
Fallacies.
Yeah, and honestly,
Sweet.
the word itself sounds kind of
Kinda.
intimidating,
Yeah, like something you'd hear in a philosophy lecture or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's actually super fascinating.
Okay, you've got my attention.
And a bit mischievous, too, I have to say.
Oh. Tell me more.
So basically, fallacies are these arguments.
Arguments.
Yeah, and they sound convincing at first, but they have these hidden flaws in their reasoning.
Like traps.
Exactly. Traps waiting for us to fall right in.
And sometimes I bet
What?
I bet those traps are set intentionally.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Right.
like someone trying to pull a fast one on you with their words.
I know that feeling.
But now, thanks to this book, we can spot those tricks a mile away.
That's empowering.
I know, right?
So hang on. This book, it lists
It lists.
tons of these fallacies, right?
Oh, yeah, tons.
God.
So it's like this,
Like an arsenal.
an arsenal. I like that.
Yeah, for winning arguments.
And spotting them.
Exactly.
Okay, so the book, it's like a rogues gallery of arguments.
Deceptive arguments, right?
Yes. All organized alphabetically.
Wow, that's handy.
Right. And it even categorizes them.
Into.
5 main types.
Cool.
We'll link those in the episode description.
Episode description.
Yeah, so people can check them out later.
Nice.
And did you notice?
Notice what?
A lot of them have those fancy Latin names.
Oh, yeah, I love those.
I know. Makes you sound
Shiny.
smarter just knowing them.
A little intellectual one-upmanship never hurts.
Uh-huh. Right.
So, for our deep dive today,
Yeah.
let's focus on really understanding these fallacies,
Not
just showing off our Latin right.
You got it.
Although,
What?
dropping a well-placed ad hominem,
A what? Oh, fancy.
can definitely turn heads in a conversation.
I might have to try that.
You should.
Okay, let's jump into some examples.
Examples.
Yeah, from the book.
Okay, which one first?
This first one, ad hominem.
Ad hominem.
I'm betting.
Betting what?
You've seen this one in action,
Oh, yeah, a million times.
especially online.
Oh, for sure.
So tell me,
What do you want to know?
what's the classic tactic here?
It's attacking the person
Instead of
the argument itself.
So instead of having a real debate, you just try
You just tried.
discredit the other person.
Precisely. It's like saying, you can't be right about climate change
Climate change.
because you drive a gas guzzler.
Oh, that's good.
It's a classic.
I've totally fallen for that kind of thinking.
I think we all have at some point.
Yeah, it's like our brains
$20.
take a shortcut.
Yeah.
Assume if someone has flaws, their arguments must be flawed too.
Makes sense in a way.
I know, right?
It plays on our emotions and biases.
Makes it very...
Effective.
Okay, this next one,
Which one?
it's called argumentum ad populum,
Argumentum ad populum.
but we might know it as the good old bandwagon fallacy.
Yes, the bandwagon fallacy.
So this one tries to manipulate you by saying,
Thing.
everyone else believes this. You should too.
Like peer pressure.
But for ideas.
Exactly. Like when you see a product
product.
advertised as the best-selling or most popular,
Yeah.
it makes you think,
Think what?
well, it must be good if everyone's buying it.
Right.
But just because something's popular
Doesn't mean it,
doesn't mean it's true.
or, right.
Nope.
It's a way of appealing to our desire.
Fit in.
Yeah, and our tendency to trust the crowd.
Okay. This one
Which one?
is called false precision.
False precision.
And as a numbers person,
Uh-huh.
I can see how easy it is to get tricked by this one.
Tell me about it.
It's all about using precise numbers for things that you can't really measure.
Interesting.
Like those commercials that claim
Claywhite.
that a product is clinically proven.
Clinically proven to be
Like 30% more effective.
30%.
Yeah.
But more effective than what?
Exactly. What are they even measuring? And how did they prove it?
Right.
It preys on our trust in numbers.
Even if they're totally meaningless.
Like saying a brand of coffee makes you 15% happier.
Haha, 15%.
How do you even quantify happiness?
You can't.
But they use those precise numbers,
Okay.
that illusion of scientific authority.
Hey, this next one.
Yeah.
The gambler's fallacy.
The gambler's fallacy.
I'm betting this one
What?
has cost people a lot of money.
At the casino.
Yeah, the casino.
Makes sense.
I have to admit, even I struggle with this one.
Really? Tell me more.
It's that mistaken belief that
What?
past events can influence
Influence?
random odds.
Oh, like thinking.
Like thinking if you flip a coin,
Yeah.
get heads 5 times in a row.
Then the next flip is more likely to be tails.
Like, yeah, things should even out, right?
It feels that way, doesn't it?
It does.
But each coin flip is an independent event.
Really?
The odds reset every time.
So even if a roulette wheel lands on black
How many times?
20 times in a row,
Wow.
the odds of it landing on red,
Are still the same.
that's mind-boggling.
It is, but randomness doesn't have a memory.
Wow. Okay.
So this next one sounds devious.
Which one?
It's called poisoning the well.
Poisoning the well.
It's a preemptive strike
Oh.
that tries to discredit your opponent
Yeah.
or their argument before they can even speak,
So you're trying to bias the audience?
before they even hear the other side.
That's messed up.
but effective.
Yeah, probably very effective.
Especially when people are already inclined to distrust the other person.
Okay, this one.
What is it called?
It's called the red herring.
The red herring.
Mhm. Like
Okay.
a magician's sleight of hand.
Oh, I see.
The red herring is all about
It's all about
introducing irrelevant information,
to distract from the main argument.
like throwing a smelly fish.
To throw off the hounds.
Exactly.
So you're basically changing the subject. It's
Right.
a way of dodging a question or avoiding a difficult topic.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these fallacies can be used for good or evil.
It's like a superpower.
That you can use for good or mischief.
Knowledge is power.
All right, this next one.
Yeah.
The straw man.
That's a straw man.
This one feels dishonest. Well, the straw man involves distorting
Distorted.
your opponent's argument,
Making it weaker.
yeah, or more extreme,
Then
and then attacking that distorted version,
it's like putting words in their mouths.
and then criticizing them for saying things.
they never actually said.
Exactly.
Imagine you're arguing about gun control,
Gun control.
and your opponent says we need reasonable restrictions.
Okay.
A straw man attack would be,
Would be.
so you want to take away everyone's guns.
And leave us defenseless.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's a way of oversimplifying someone's position.
To make it easier to attack.
It's a common tactic in debates,
And political campaigns.
where the goal is to score points, not have a real discussion.
Last one for this part.
Okay, hit me.
It's one we're all probably guilty of.
Really?
Which one?
Wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking. Oh, tell me about it.
It's believing something.
Because
You really want it to be true,
even
if there's no evidence.
it's like saying you aced a test.
When you know you didn't study.
We've all been there.
I do that all the time.
Really? Like when you...
Like with lottery tickets,
Oh, yeah.
or that cute barista finally noticing me. We all have our wishful thinking moments, right?
We do, but our desires don't change reality. So
Just because I want to win the lottery.
it doesn't make it any more likely.
Yeah.
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
Uh-huh. Sorry.
So,
It's good to dream big, but we got to ground our beliefs in reality.
reality, that's a good one.
Speaking of reality.
Yeah.
This next fallacy,
Next fallacy.
it messes with how we see things.
Really? That's
Called accent,
accent.
like a British accent.
a British accent.
Or a southern drawl.
Oh, you mean like
Like how emphasis or tone of voice
can change the meaning,
of a sentence.
even if the words stay the same.
Yeah, it's like
So-
saying, I love pizza,
I love pizza.
but with different emphasis.
To convey different meaning.
Exactly.
Oh,
Like, I love pizza.
versus I love pizza.
Same words, totally different vibe.
Right.
And this can be used to mislead people.
How so?
Think about a politician saying,
Saying what?
We will not raise taxes.
We will not raise taxes.
The emphasis
Yeah.
might make people think they'll never raise taxes.
But they could raise other fees.
Exactly. It's like they're hiding emphasis.
To create a loophole.
Sneaky, right.
Very sneaky.
And hard to spot sometimes.
Okay, this next one.
What's it called?
Amphibole.
Amphibole.
Sounds like it could lead to
To what?
misunderstandings.
Oh. Why?
It's a fallacy that arises from
Arises from.
ambiguous sentences.
Or grammar.
Yeah.
So the
Right.
words might be clear.
The way they're put together.
Creates multiple interpretations.
It's like
what?
those confusing furniture instructions.
Oh, yeah. Those are the worst.
You can interpret them in 10 different ways.
I know. Think about a sign that says,
Says what?
slow children playing.
Slow children playing.
Does it mean
Does it mean?
the children are slow?
Or you should slow down because they're playing.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it that way.
It could be either.
That's a recipe for disaster.
And sometimes that ambiguity
He is intentional.
to mislead or confuse people.
Okay, this next one
Yeah.
makes me think of those recommendations online.
What kind of recommendations?
If you like X, you'll love Y.
Ah, yes. That's the analogical fallacy.
The analogical fallacy.
It's about pushing analogies too far.
Analogies can be helpful.
Yeah, for explaining things.
But they can't
Okay, what?
prove anything.
Nope.
So when we assume
Assume what?
that just because two things are similar in some ways,
They must be similar in all ways.
that's when we fall into the trap.
So just because I like chocolate,
Mm.
my friend likes chocolate.
Doesn't mean you'll agree on everything.
Ah, true.
It's like assuming
Assuming what?
that a policy that worked in one country,
Will automatically work in another.
even with different circumstances.
This next one.
Yeah.
Argumentum ad antiquatum.
Argumentum ad antiquatum. What's that about?
It's about assuming something's right.
Simply because
It's been done that way for a long time.
the classic, we've always done it this way.
Exactly.
But just because something's been done a certain way,
It doesn't mean it's the best way.
the world changes, you know.
And what worked in the past.
Might not be the best solution now.
This makes me think of people resisting change.
By saying what?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I've heard that one a few times.
But sometimes
Sometimes what?
things need to be fixed.
Even if they're not totally broken,
Right.
progress means questioning traditions sometimes.
This next one
Which one?
makes me think of people
What kind of people?
who are so set in their ways,
Uh-huh.
they refuse to even consider
Consider what?
new information.
Oh, that's a priorism.
A priorism,
It's clinging to preconceived notions,
no matter what.
no matter what the evidence says.
It's like saying,
Saying what?
I already know everything.
So don't bother me with facts.
Like when people refuse to believe in climate change.
Despite all the evidence.
Yeah, they've already made up their minds.
It's dangerous thinking.
Why?
It shuts down learning.
Okay, this one is straight up scary.
What is it?
Argumentum ad baculum.
Argumentum ad baculum.
It's all about
It's about
using threats to force people
to force them?
to agree with you.
Like saying, agree with me or else.
Yikes!
That's taking things to a whole new level
It's silencing dissent.
and shutting down discussion.
This one seems to oversimplify things.
What's it called?
Bifurcation.
Bifurcation.
Or the black and white fallacy.
What's that?
It says there are only two options
When?
when there might be many more.
Like in those political debates?
Where they say, you're either with us or against us.
No middle ground.
No nuance.
It's framing an issue to make one choice seem like the only reasonable one.
Okay, this one
Which one?
makes you sound smarter.
Then you really are.
Maybe.
Yeah, I like it.
It's called blinding with science.
Blinding with science. That's a good one.
It's all about
All about what?
using jargon to confuse people
Like dressing up a simple idea.
to make it seem impressive.
Exactly.
It's like reading a scientific article.
And having no idea what it means.
Right.
It's often used by people who want to appear more knowledgeable
Or
to avoid scrutiny.
this one sounds like a trap.
Which one?
The bogus dilemma.
The bogus dilemma.
It presents a false choice.
Between.
Two undesirable outcomes
When?
when there might be other options.
Oh, so it's like being told.
Told what?
You can either eat your vegetables or go to bed hungry.
But maybe there's a sandwich somewhere.
Exactly. It's limiting choices.
And pushing people toward a decision.
That benefits the person presenting the dilemma.
Okay, this one.
What's it called?
Circulus and probando.
Circulus and probando. That sounds serious.
It's all about
All about.
circular reasoning.
Oh, Where the conclusion is used as evidence to support itself.
Like saying, this book is reliable because it says so.
That's a classic example.
So you're just repeating your claim.
Without any real evidence.
This one
What is it?
sounds like it's straight out of a courtroom.
Really?
It's called the complex question.
The complex question.
It combines
Combines what?
multiple questions into one,
Forcing a yes or no answer.
which could be misleading.
Or even incriminating.
The classic example is,
Let me guess. Have you stopped beating your wife?
you got it.
No matter how you answer, you're trapped.
It's a sneaky way to make someone admit to something.
Or to create a false impression of guilt.
This one sounds like it could lead to
Lead to.
stereotypes.
Which one is it?
Composition.
Composition.
It's the fallacy of assuming
Assuming what?
that what's true of the parts.
Must also be true of the whole.
Like saying,
Like saying what?
each player on a team is amazing, so they must be an unbeatable team.
But just because individuals are talented,
Doesn't mean they'll work well together.
the whole can be greater or lesser than the sum of its parts.
This one sounds
No.
vague and misleading.
What's it called?
Concealed quantification.
Concealed quantification.
It's being unclear about how many members of a group you're talking about.
That could lead to misinterpretations.
Like saying
What?
lawyers are dishonest.
Without specifying how many.
All lawyers,
Yeah.
most lawyers.
Or just a few.
It's like those clickbait headlines.
The ones that say,
Doctors hate this one trick.
how many doctors?
Right? Are they even real doctors?
It lets the speaker make a generalization.
That might not be true at all.
This next one, the conclusion which denies premises.
The conclusion which denies premises.
It's when the conclusion contradicts
Contradicts what?
the premises you started with.
So it's like saying
Like saying,
all birds can fly.
okay,
Penguins are birds.
so,
Therefore, penguins can't fly.
wait, that doesn't make sense.
Right. It goes against what you just said.
It's a total logical breakdown.
This one makes me think of
Makes you think of what?
judging a book by its cover.
Oh, that's argumentum ad criminem.
Argumentum ad criminem.
It assumes someone is right because they're wealthy.
Like the saying, if you're so smart, why aren't you rich?
But wealth doesn't guarantee correctness.
It's like those get-rich-quick schemes.
That prey on people's desire for money
Just because someone has money.
doesn't mean their advice is good.
This next one,
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
Where?
News articles, social media.
What is it?
It's called cum hoc ergo propter hoc.
Cum hoc ergo propter hoc. What's that all about?
It means with this, therefore because of this.
Ah, confusing correlation with causation.
Like that study.
Which study?
That showed a correlation between ice cream sales and shark attacks.
Does that mean eating ice cream causes shark attacks?
Of course not.
But people make that mistake all the time.
They're looking for simple explanations.
For complex things.
This one sounds like
What?
a marketing ploy.
What is it called?
Damning the alternatives.
Damning the alternatives.
And making something look better. Highlighting the flaws of its competitors.
Like those political attack ads.
That focus on the opponent's weaknesses.
But never mention their own policies.
It's making yourself look good.
By comparison, even if you're not that great.
It's a distraction tactic.
To avoid a real discussion.
Okay, this next one
Yeah.
sounds like a way to wiggle out of a tough spot.
What's it called?
The definitional retreat.
The definitional retreat.
It's all about changing the meaning of a word after it's been challenged.
It's to avoid admitting you're wrong.
So it's like when a politician is caught in a lie.
And they say.
Well, what I meant was...
And then redefine their original statement.
That's exactly it.
It's shifting the goalposts.
This one sounds like
What?
mental gymnastics.
What is it called?
Denying the antecedent.
Denying the antecedent.
It involves incorrectly assuming
Assuming what?
that if the if part of a statement is false, then the then part must also be false.
So it's like saying,
Like saying,
if it's raining, the ground is wet.
okay,
It's not raining, so the ground must be dry.
but maybe someone spilled water.
Exactly. There could be other reasons.
This one reminds me of people
What kind of people?
who make generalizations.
About groups of people.
Yeah, it's called dicto simpliciter.
Dicto simpliciter.
It's applying a general rule,
To a specific case without considering exceptions.
like saying,
All politicians are corrupt. All millennials are lazy.
stereotypes.
They're everywhere. And it's important to remember,
Remember what?
individuals within a group can be very different.
So we shouldn't make assumptions.
based on group affiliation.
This one sounds like
Like what?
the opposite of composition.
Oh, you mean division.
Division.
It's assuming
Assuming what?
what's true of the whole is true of its parts.
So it's like saying
Feeling what?
this company is successful.
So,
So every employee must be amazing.
but a company's success could be due to other factors.
Like good leadership?
Or a strong market.
This one sounds like fun.
Which one?
Equivocation.
Equivocation.
It's all about
It's all about what?
playing with words
Using a word with multiple meanings.
in a misleading way.
It's like a pun gone wrong.
A pun gone wrong.
Think about this statement.
Okay, what is it?
I have the right to bear arms.
I have the right to bear arms.
So I'm going to buy a grizzly bear.
A grizzly bear.
They're using arms in two different senses.
To make a ridiculous argument.
Exactly.
It's funny, but equivocation can be used in serious contexts too.
To deceive people.
Okay, I know this one.
Which one?
The exception that proves the rule.
A classic.
I hear that one all the time.
But it's often misused
To dismiss evidence.
because exceptions don't actually prove rules.
You challenge them.
So if you say
What?
all dogs are friendly
Oh, yeah.
and someone says they know an aggressive dog,
That exception doesn't prove my rule.
it weakens.
Right.
Exceptions show the limits of generalizations.
This one sounds like a mind bender.
What is it?
Exclusive premises.
Exclusive premise.
It's a fallacy where both premises are negative.
Making it impossible to draw a conclusion.
So it's like
Like what?
no cats are dogs.
Expert.
No cats are dogs.
Okay.
No dogs can fly.
So?
Therefore, some cats can fly.
It's just wrong.
You can't conclude something positive. Two negative statements.
Okay, this one sounds
How does it sound?
like it could lead to some wild claims. What's it called?
The existential fallacy.
The existential fallacy.
It's when you assume something exists,
Just because we can talk about it
or because a statement about it.
is grammatically correct.
So just because I can say purple unicorn.
Doesn't mean they exist.
Exactly. We need to
Oh.
support those claims.
This next one,
Yeah.
it's about statistics.
Oh,
It's called ex post facto statistics.
ex post facto statistics.
It's using statistics in a misleading way
To suggest.
that something extraordinary happened. Like looking at the odds of winning the lottery.
After you've already won.
Exactly.
And then claiming it was a miracle.
But of course, someone had to win eventually.
The odds only seem improbable when you look at them after the fact.
It's creating a false sense of
Significance.
or improbability.
This next one.
Wait, I know this one.
You do.
The gambler's fallacy.
The gambler's fallacy.
Yeah, we talked about it.
We did, but it's worth repeating.
Why?
So many people fall for it.
Especially when it comes to gambling.
It's that idea that,
Past events can influence random odds.
like thinking a slot machine is due
For a payout.
because it hasn't hit in a while.
But each spin is independent.
The odds reset every time.
So even if you've lost 100 times.
My chances are still the same on the next spin.
Yep, that's randomness for you.
Okay, this one sounds like a way to
What?
dismiss valid
What's
arguments.
it called?
The genetic fallacy.
The genetic fallacy.
It dismisses an idea.
Solely because of its origin.
So it's like saying,
What?
we can't trust a study
Because it was funded by a corporation.
with a vested interest.
While it's important to consider the source,
Yeah.
we shouldn't dismiss something.
Just because of its origins. It's like judging a book by its cover.
or by its author.
This one sounds like
Like what?
making a bold claim,
But
leaving yourself a way out.
that's half-concealed qualification.
Have concealed qualification.
It's making a general statement,
And then,
adding a qualification that weakens it.
but in a subtle way,
So it's like saying,
almost all scientists agree on climate change.
that almost is doing a lot of work.
It lets you make a strong claim.
But leave room for doubt.
It's like a magician's trick
Distracting you with the bold statement.
while subtly qualifying it.
This next one,
Yeah.
it's about being evasive.
Oh, that's hedging.
Hedging.
Yeah, it's like having your cake and eating it too.
It's using vague language.
To avoid
to.
is a specific claim.
Like when a politician says,
I'll consider all options.
but never commits to anything,
It's appearing decisive.
while avoiding accountability.
This next one.
Which one?
Seems like playing the victim card.
What's it called?
Argumentum ad hominem circumstantial.
Argumentum ad hominem circumstantial.
It's trying to discredit someone.
By suggesting.
They only hold that view because of their circumstances.
Or self-interest.
It's like saying
Sure.
you only support healthcare because you're poor.
And would benefit from it.
But someone could hold a view for other reasons.
This one exploits fear of the unknown.
Which one is that?
Argumentum ad ignorantium.
Argumentum ad ignorantium.
It means argument from ignorance.
And it's claiming something is true.
Because it hasn't been proven false.
So it's like saying,
Saying what?
aliens must exist because we haven't proven they don't.
Exactly. A lack of evidence doesn't prove something true.
This one sounds like a way to
To what?
avoid answering a question.
What's it called?
Ignoratio elenchi.
Ignoratio elenchi.
It means irrelevant conclusion.
It's proving something.
Other than the point at issue
Like when a politician
is asked about a controversial issue.
and they talk about their accomplishments
It's dodging the question.
and distracting with irrelevant information.
This next one
Yeah.
sounds like a logic puzzle.
What is it?
Illicit process.
Illicit process.
It involves errors in logic.
Can you give me an example?
Sure, someone says,
Okay.
all dogs are mammals. No cats are dogs. Therefore, no cats are mammals.
But cats are mammals.
The conclusion is invalid.
Because.
Dogs is used in two different ways. This one sounds like a way to derail a serious conversation.
That's irrelevant humor.
Irrelevant humor
It's using jokes.
to distract from the issue,
Like those people who joke about everything.
even when it's not appropriate.
Humor can be good,
Yeah.
but it can also avoid important issues.
This one sounds
Ow.
extreme.
What is it?
Argumentum ad lapidem.
Argumentum ad lapidem.
It means appeal to the stone
So it's dismissing an argument.
without engaging with it.
It's like saying, I refuse to listen, I already know I'm right.
That's so frustrating.
It's like talking to a wall.
This one plays on people's sympathy.
What's it called?
Argumentum ad lazarum.
Argumentum ad lazarum. What's that about?
Assuming someone is right,
Because.
they're poor or disadvantaged.
So it's like saying,
We should listen because they've had a hard life.
but life experiences.
Don't make opinions more valid.
This one, I see it everywhere.
Which one?
Loaded words.
Loaded words.
They're designed to evoke an emotional response.
Positive or negative.
Like news headlines.
That use words like slammed.
Or destroyed.
It's manipulating emotions.
And influencing how people see things.
This one sounds like
Like what?
a way to manipulate people,
And two,
feeling sorry for someone.
that's argumentum ad misericordiam.
Argumentum ad misericordiam.
It means appeal to pity
It's winning an argument.
by making people feel sorry for you.
Like when a student tries to get out of a bad grade,
With a sob story.
we need to remember
And remember what?
that empathy and compassion.
Shouldn't bypass logic and fairness.
This one sounds like brainwashing.
Which one is that?
Argumentum ad nauseum.
Argumentum ad nauseum. It
means-
argument to the point of nausea. So
Yeah.
it's proving a point.
By repeating it over and over
Like those annoying commercials.
with the same jingle 100 times,
If you hear something enough,
you'll start to believe it.
even without evidence.
This one sounds
So.
like a paradox.
What is it called?
Non-anticipation.
Non-anticipation.
It's assuming
right.
that if something were true.
It would have already been discovered.
So it's like saying,
What?
if time travel were possible, we'd already know about it.
Just because something hasn't happened.
Doesn't mean it's impossible.
This one sounds like
Like what?
it's all about the shiny and new.
Oh, argumentum ad novitam.
Argumentum ad novitam. The appeal to novelty?
It assumes something is better.
Just because it's new.
Like tech companies releasing new products.
Even if the improvements are small?
It's appealing to our desire,
For the latest and greatest?
even if the old stuff is fine.
This one's all about following the crowd.
What's it called?
Argumentum ad numeram.
Argumentum ad numeram. That's a mouthful.
It means appeal to popularity.
So it's assuming something is true.
Just because a lot of people believe it.
But popularity doesn't equal truth?
We need to think for ourselves.
And evaluate claims based on evidence.
This one avoids a balanced discussion.
What is it?
One-sided assessment.
One-sided assessment.
It's presenting only the positive,
Or negative aspect.
ignoring the other side.
Like biased news reports.
They'll only tell one side of the story,
It's like when someone's selling you something.
and they only talk about the benefits.
We need a balanced perspective.
This one sounds circular.
Which one?
Petitio principii.
Petitio principii.
It means begging the question
So it's assuming the truth.
of what you're trying to prove.
Like saying, I'm right because I'm right.
It's a circular argument.
With no real evidence.
We've talked about this one.
Which one?
Poisoning
Well, it's discrediting someone.
before they can speak.
Like saying, Don't listen, he's a liar.
It's tainting the jury.
Before the trial even starts.
This one appeals to our instincts.
Which one?
Argumentum ad populum.
Argumentum ad populum, the appeal to the people.
It's winning an argument by appealing to popular sentiment.
Or prejudices.
Like propaganda.
That stirs up fear and hatred.
It manipulates emotion.
Okay, this one sounds like
Like what?
a mathematical puzzle.
What is it?
Positive conclusion from negative premise.
What's that?
It's drawing a positive conclusion
From.
to negative premises.
Like saying.
No cats or dogs.
Okay.
No dogs can fly.
Sure.
Therefore, cats can fly.
But that doesn't make sense.
The conclusion doesn't follow.
It's an error in reasoning.
Here it is again.
But
Post hoc, ergo propter hoc.
that one's everywhere.
It's assuming that.
Because one thing happened after another.
The first thing caused the second.
Like blaming a new president.
For problems that were already there.
Just because things happen in sequence.
Doesn't mean one caused the other.
This one sounds like
What?
sneaky wordplay.
What's it called?
Quaternio terminorum.
Quaternio terminorum.
It means fallacy of 4 terms.
What's that?
It's when a syllogism uses 4 terms instead of 3.
So it's invalid.
Yeah, sure.
John is richer than Paul.
Okay.
Paul is richer than George. Therefore, John is richer than George.
That seems logical. Richer is used in 2 different senses.
It's like a trick.
The 4 terms create ambiguity.
The red herring.
Suck it in.
It's like a smelly fish.
That throws everyone off.
The red herring is all about
Distraction.
introducing irrelevant information.
To divert attention.
It's like when you're arguing
And someone brings up something random.
to derail the conversation.
This one sounds a bit nitpicky.
What is it?
Refuting the example.
Refuting the example.
This dismissing a claim.
Because one example is flawed.
Like saying
And
electric cars are good for the environment.
But I heard one caught fire, so you're wrong.
One instant doesn't disprove the whole argument.
We need to look at the bigger picture.
This one could get philosophical.
About what, Quaid?
Reification.
Reification.
It's treating an abstract concept like a concrete thing. Yeah.
Like the saying.
Love conquers all.
Exactly.
Love is abstract, not a physical thing.
This one's all about doom and gloom.
What is it?
The runaway train.
The runaway train.
It argues against something.
By taking it to an extreme.
Like saying,
Yeah.
if we allow alcohol, everyone will be alcoholics. And society will collapse.
It's a slippery slope argument.
One small step leads to disaster.
It ignores moderation.
This one sounds like
Like what?
jumping to conclusions.
That's secundum quid.
Secundum quid.
Or hasty generalization.
It's drawing a conclusion.
From insufficient evidence.
It's like when people say,
What?
teenagers are irresponsible.
Based on one bad experience.
One example doesn't represent everyone.
This one sounds like
Like what?
a way to avoid responsibility.
What is it called?
Shifting ground.
Shifting ground.
It's subtly changing your position.
To avoid admitting you're wrong.
It's like when a prediction is wrong.
And someone says, well, what I really meant was...
They reinterpret their statement.
It's moving the goalposts.
This one puts the burden of proof.
On the wrong person.
Yeah, it's called shifting the burden of proof.
Shifting the burden of proof.
It's demanding someone disprove your claim.
Instead of providing evidence.
It's like making a wild claim.
And saying, prove me wrong.
The burden of proof is on the person making the claim.
It's not on the doubters. And we're back
It's
to...
a slippery slope.
It's a common tactic.
To scare people.
It's like the saying...
Move an inch and they'll take a mile.
But not every concession is a slippery slope.
This one sounds like
What?
making excuses.
That's special pleading.
Special pleading.
It's claiming the rules don't apply to you because you're special.
So it's like
Celebrities who think they're above the law.
or companies that are too big to fail.
It's avoiding accountability.
Oh, I know this one.
Which one?
Straw man.
The straw man.
It's misrepresenting your opponent's argument.
To make it easier to attack.
It's like saying my opponent wants to raise taxes when they only proposed a small increase
It's distorting their position.
to make it seem unreasonable.
This one's all about finding a happy medium.
That's argumentum ad temperentium,
Argumentum and temperentium.
the appeal to moderation,
So it's assuming,
that the middle ground is always best.
like saying,
Let's compromise,
but sometimes one side is right.
and the other is wrong.
Compromise isn't always the answer.
Sometimes you need to stand up for what you believe.
This one sounds like
Like what?
scapegoating.
It's called Thatcher's blame.
Thatcher's blame.
It's blaming someone,
even if they had nothing to do with it,
like blaming the government.
for problems caused by previous administrations.
It simplifies complex issues.
This one focuses on
On what?
the small stuff.
That's trivial objections.
Trivial objection.
Raising insignificant
So
objections.
dismiss an idea
Like opposing a housing development,
because of traffic.
even if it would provide affordable housing.
It's using small details to obscure the big picture. This one reminds me of
Reminds you of what?
playground arguments.
Like,
I know you are, but what am I?
that's too quoque.
To quote,
It means you two.
deflecting an accusation.
By saying the accuser is also guilty.
Like when a politician,
Accused of corruption says.
my opponent did worse.
It shifts the focus.
This one's about
Yeah.
reading between the lines.
Yeah, it's unaccepted enthymemes.
Unaccepted enthymemes
They're arguments,
that rely on unstated premises.
which might not be universally accepted.
So it's like saying, of course you can't trust politicians.
The unstated premise is that all politicians are untrustworthy.
But not everyone agrees with that.
We need to be aware of those hidden assumptions.
This one sounds like
Like what?
a tongue twister.
What is it?
The undistributed middle.
The undistributed middle,
It's a fallacy?
in a syllogism,
Or the middle term.
doesn't refer to all members of a category.
Can you give me an example?
Sure, imagine someone says, all birds have feathers.
Oh, right.
Penguins have feathers. Therefore, penguins are birds.
That's true.
But the logic is flawed.
Not everything with feathers is a bird.
The middle term, have feathers, doesn't refer to all birds.
Okay, this one seems to set the bar really high.
What's it called?
Unobtainable perfection.
Unobtainable perfection?
It rejects a proposal.
Because
That perfect.
even though no alternative is perfect either.
Like those people who say,
What?
I won't buy an electric car until it has a 1,000-mile range.
And charges in 5 minutes.
They're waiting for an ideal solution.
That might never exist.
This one's about blindly trusting
Trusting who?
authority figures.
That's argumentum ad verecundium.
Argumentum ad verecundium.
The appeal to authority.
It's citing an authority,
To support a claim.
even if they're not an expert.
It's like when celebrities...
Endorse products they know nothing about.
Or someone says, my uncle, who's a mechanic, says climate change is a hoax.
Just because they're an authority in one area,
Doesn't make him an expert on everything.
we need to evaluate the evidence ourselves.
And last but not least,
We're back to,
wishful thinking.
I think we're all guilty of that one.
It's believing something.
Because you want it to be true.
It's like that saying.
Hope springs eternal. It's like really wanting your team to win.
So you convince yourself they'll pull off an upset.
Even if they're the underdog.
We all have our hopes and biases.
And they can influence our thinking.
And it's the fallacy of assuming that the middle ground
Between
two extremes.
it's always the best.
It's like saying, let's just compromise.
And everyone will be happy.
But sometimes
One extreme
might be totally right.
and the other totally wrong.
Compromise isn't always the solution.
It makes me think of those group projects
Oh, yeah.
where we pick a mediocre idea.
Just because it's easy to agree on.
Exactly.
Sometimes you got to stand up for what you believe in.
Even if it means going against the grain. This one sounds like
what?
scapegoating.
Oh, you mean Thatcher's blame?
Thatcher's blame.
It's specific to British politics.
But the idea is,
Blaming someone even if they weren't responsible.
so like blaming the current government.
For problems caused by earlier ones.
It oversimplifies things.
And find someone to blame.
This one focuses on
On what?
the small stuff.
You mean trivial objections.
Trivial objections.
It's raising minor objections.
To dismiss an idea,
Even if they don't address the main arguments.
like opposing a housing development,
Because of traffic concerns.
when it would provide affordable housing.
It's missing the forest for the trees.
This one reminds me of those, I know you are, but what are my arguments?
Haha, that's too quoque.
To quote,
It means you too.
it's when someone,
Deflects an accusation.
by saying the accuser is also guilty,
Like a politician accused of corruption.
saying, but my opponent did worse.
It's shifting the blame.
This one's about
About what?
reading between the lines.
You're talking about unaccepted enthymemes?
Unaccepted enthymemes.
And unaccepted enthymemes.
They're arguments with unstated premises.
That might not be true.
Like someone saying you can't trust politicians,
But the unstated premise is that all politicians are untrustworthy.
which isn't necessarily true.
We need to watch out for those hidden assumptions. This one sounds like...
A tongue twister.
Yeah.
It's the undistributed middle.
The undistributed middle.
It's when the middle term in a syllogism
Doesn't refer to all members of a category.
like saying
Like,
all birds have feathers.
but
Penguins have feathers.
so
Therefore, penguins are birds.
that's true.
The logic is messed up.
Not everything with feathers is a bird.
Exactly.
This one sets the bar.
really high.
Yeah, it's called unobtainable perfection.
Unobtainable perfection.
It rejects a proposal because it's not perfect.
Even if no alternative is perfect.
Like people who say,
I won't buy an electric car until it has a 1,000-mile range.
and charges in 5 minutes.
Uh-huh. Good luck with that.
They're looking for something that doesn't exist.
This was about blindly trusting authority.
That's argumentum ad verecundium.
Argumentum ad verecundium.
It means appeal to authority.
So it's like,
Celebrities endorsing random products.
or someone saying,
My uncle, who's a mechanic, says climate change is a hoax.
but just because they're an authority in one area.
Doesn't make them an expert on everything.
And lastly,
We have.
wishful thinking.
We're all guilty of that sometimes.
It's believing something because we want it to be true,
Like hoping your team wins.
even though they're the underdog.
Our hopes can cloud our judgment
Well, that was quite the journey.
through the land of fallacies.
I feel like I've learned a whole new language
This is like a secret code.
for understanding arguments.
And spotting those sneaky tactics.
It's a bit unsettling.
Why?
I see these fallacies everywhere now.
That's the point of critical thinking.
It helps us see the world more clearly.
And make better decisions.
This book is called How to Win Every Argument.
Yeah.
But the real takeaway is
What?
winning isn't everything.
Sometimes it's about having better conversations.
More thoughtful.
And honest.
That's the real win.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Into the world of fallacies.
We'll see you next time.